Aita. For thinking my dad is sleeping with my half-sister. Advice needed. My family and I, 24F, found out at the end of last summer, around the beginning of August, that my cousin, 25F, is my sister. 3 DNA tests confirmed it. A little backstory for you. This has been a joke on my dad's side of the family for my whole life. Mostly coming from him. What if blank is your sister? Laughs, I'm just kidding, there's no way. Always those types of jokes. I never thought anything about it because she looks so much like my uncle, but my dad and he look very similar. Also, her birthday and my birthday are so close that my dad would have had to have cheated on my mom when they first met. Okay, now why do I think incest is going on? She started talking to my dad pretty often in August. They did the first test, 23andMe, and came back as my half-sister. She lived in a different state at that time, August 2023. There's talk about her trying to plan a trip up to meet us all, even though she's met us all before, with her fiancé whom she had been with for about 6 to 7 months. Every time it was going to happen, it didn't. Early September, she finds out she's pregnant. In late September, she found out she had a miscarriage. She says she needs support because she has none in the state she's in. At that time, she lived with her mom and stepdad and her 2 kids. I know her mom. She can be the hovering type, but she is very openly supportive of her. So she comes to visit for a weekend. There at the grocery store, my dad, half-sister, my full-blooded brother, and her fiancé. She said she lost the rest of the baby. Now I've been lucky enough to never have to experience a miscarriage, so I don't know how that works. She leaves on Sunday, comes back again the next weekend, goes home again that Sunday. The next time she came, she didn't leave. She moved in that quickly, left her kids with her mom, and said she wanted to build a better life for them. Good for her. After she moved in, the whole house shifted. Mind you, she did move in with her fiancé. There was tension every day. Arguments way more often than ever in this house, not just between her and her fiancé, but everybody in the house was. My stepmom, the fiancé, my dad, my brother, my half-sister, me, my boyfriend, and my 5 kids. They start sitting hip to hip. Not too weird. Then she started following him everywhere. Like to the point where he got up to go to the bathroom, and she followed and stood by the door until he was finished. Then they start holding hands. Openly, by the way. My stepmom confronts him, and he says that, we'll call her A just needs someone. She wants him to make her feel loved and protected. Whenever they would leave, it was always just them and my brother, or just them. Her fiancé never went with them anywhere. He started thinking there was someone else because they weren't having intimacy. She didn't want to be around him, wasn't affectionate, and barely talked to him. The weird thing is those same things were happening to my dad and stepmom's relationship of 12 years. December comes, and they're staying up so late, they fall asleep on the couch, her head on his lap or shoulder, him sitting upright. Then it upgrades to them spooning on the couch. Then they started sleeping in my brother's room. He slept in the living room for a while before he started letting them sleep in there. I don't remember the reason, but he is 23. So they start sleeping in my brother's room. So the setup at that point was my dad and A in one room, my brother in the living room, stepmom in what used to be my dad in her room, the fiancé on the 3rd floor in what used to be his and A's room, me and my family in the basement. It's finished and there's more room down here. Around Christmas, we find out she's pregnant. The only people that knew were me, my boyfriend, my brother, and my dad. She didn't want the fiancé to know because she was planning on leaving him a week from then, and she didn't want our stepmom to know because she didn't want her to tell the fiancé. I thought it was immediately weird, given the sleeping arrangements. So a week goes by, and she goes to her old town to get her other daughter, court order. Not going to go into details with that, but the fiancé stays home for only the 2nd time. They make these trips every weekend. It was all 3 of them up until about the 2nd week of December 23. She breaks up with him, and he comes down to my room and is bawling. Like, I've never seen a man cry like that. He goes on to say that they haven't been the same in months. There has to be somebody else who doesn't love him anymore. We talk with him, try to comfort him, say our goodbyes, and then he goes to get some things from our garage. My BF follows him, and the fiancé ends up saying either they haven't had intimacy at all since the miscarriage in September 23, or they haven't had much intimacy since the miscarriage in September 23. So he moves back to his hometown, and then they come home on Sunday like they always do. Except this time, they start sleeping in A's old bedroom, the one she and the fiancé shared. Even more privacy. Fast forward to now. They're still sleeping in that bedroom. She has intimacy toys on her nightstand. I thought she stole a hair claw from me, so I went snooping. I know the invasion of privacy, but she had the exact hair claw that I had, and mine was missing. My dad waits on her, gets her food, drinks, etc. He's been to every single baby appointment she's had. I did confront him about this because I have 5 kids and he's never been to any of my OBGYN appointments or ultrasounds for them. His reasoning for going with her is that she has nobody up here. He asked my brother if they could take over his room again when she has the baby, which is September, which makes the conceived month, December. He stopped making comments to me about wearing a tank top or shorts. He used to say something along the lines of, "You look like a hooker," or "Put more clothes on." Now nothing. My stepmom got sick and is in a nursing home now, and has been for over a month, and he still hasn't gone back to his bedroom. He washes their clothes, in my head. What 48 years old dad would be washing/touching his 25 years old daughter's bras and underwear? He's never done my laundry, and he and my stepmom always did their own. I don't think I'm TA for thinking these things, but I'm wondering what others would think if they were in this situation, I guess. Edit. I forgot to add that when they started sleeping in my brother's room, I went in there to wrap presents for my kids. My dad had a white t-shirt on the bed, and I picked it up. As I did that, the shirt unstuck itself. Some bodily fluids, don't know how explicit I can get, but yes, probably what you're thinking. I told my brother. He immediately called my dad and confronted him. My dad said that it was indeed that, but he was in there alone. Why are you doing that in your son's room? Then he asked who knew. Brother told him just him, even though he, my stepmom, and myself knew. Then my dad said not to tell anybody else. This phone call was on the car radio on their weekend trip to her hometown. Completely fooled my brother, and since then if anything like that is talked about my dad in front of my brother, he gets super defensive immediately.